Hello everyone and welcome to the next part of our crazy hectic, crazy fun RimWorld Let's Play where we're playing on the hardest difficulty, Randy Random, with the hardest start. As always, this is our little series, so if you want to go back and start from the beginning to see the whole story, I would recommend doing so. But as we continue here, we're going to try to be getting this prisoner to be our third colonist so that we can have someone else working and mining and getting food, as this is an ever-growing demand and there's an ever-growing need as we need more and more things, trying to get ourselves into the electrical era. Getting ourselves a refrigerator would be majorly helpful to make our food last a lot longer. That's something that's vastly important late game, especially as we try to get more and more colonists. As of right now, the workload is just way too much for Blue and Eric to do on their own. They're barely able to get everything they need done to just survive one day, let alone complete this and still be able to add more and more to the colony. There's also this looming threat of a raid. We don't have defenses and we don't have numbers. Once the raids start happening, which I imagine they will soon, it could spell disaster very, very quickly. So these are all things we're trying to prepare for the best we can. And it's going all right. We're able to do daily tasks and we're able to keep going, but progress is relatively slow. The demand is much greater than the supply Blue and Eric's combined effort is able to provide. However, this progress is very consistent, meaning day by day we are slowly getting our colony closer and closer to that never-ending goal of being self-sustaining and almost fully autonomous. This is when a solar flare happens, and this doesn't really affect us right now because we have absolutely no electronics to be EMP'd, so for Blue and Eric, this doesn't actually mean anything. It hasn't changed their way of life whatsoever. But for a colony later, a solar flare like that could spell disaster, especially if you're in the middle of a raid and all your security is autonomous. So as we keep mining and continuing our base to make a dedicated storage room and a bigger, more nice looking bedroom to raise the mood of Blue and Eric, who struggle with the fact that they sleep in a disgusting storage room of a bedroom, their little hoarder barracks, as I think it should be called. I decide that the storage room still isn't big enough, and I want to try to fill it with shelves, because filling it with shelves makes it infinitely hold more items, like 3 times as many items, but it's a lot if you add it up. And I've decided to start cutting down some walls so that we can expand. This is when a man-hunting pack of cobras are chasing a small 11-year-old child named Mousy. Now, do I want to save a small child who won't be able to help us much? No. But do I do it out of the kindness of my heart? Yes. I do it for a variety of reasons, the main one being that I kind of felt morally dubious about leaving a child to die, and also that a child is a blank slate that can kind of be morphed and forged into whatever you want. They can actually provide a pretty big benefit to your colony, although they are hard to provide for and care for, especially in a developing colony like this. They are also a different religion. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's something to keep in mind because you do tend to want your colonists to all share the same beliefs. Now, the cobras are here, the man-hunting pack. This shouldn't be a major problem, though. Man-hunting pack of cobras, not too scary. So Eric just starts opening fire and shooting the absolute heck out of them. I take Mousy and Blue and have them run away a bit. I don't really want them to get in the crossfire here too much and potentially get injured. And just like that, we wipe the cobras out. They have scoria, just like the raccoons that attacked earlier, so we can't eat them or anything. But now we have Mousy to help with some day-to-day chores, mostly cleaning and hauling, because that's something children are exceptionally good at. Mousy is going to be a good addition to the colony, however, as hauling and cleaning are tasks that are often overlooked by other colonists, but can make a great deal of difference in keeping the colony sane and happy and working like a well-oiled machine that it should. We have to get Mousy a bed, however, so she doesn't sleep on the floor, and Blue gets a late night's sleep. I set some more targets to be hunted, as we're going to need a little bit more food. I don't think children eat as much food as everybody else. This is when a war merchant shows up. This is pretty nice because they might be able to buy some of our stuff and might be able to sell us some stuff that we need for future endeavors, so to speak. And I don't know what they're going to have here, but I decide to sell off some of my stuff and look through their wares to see if there's anything that I would like to buy. Unfortunately, we don't really have much money whatsoever to actually buy something I'd want to buy, but looking through their wares, I see that they have a headdress, they have a bow. I need a headdress so that we can do our religious rituals better, as it's one of our religious symbols, but Blue doesn't have one yet. I can't afford it, so I decided to just look another day and maybe look to crafting our own, as that's probably what we're going to end up having to do. It's unfortunate that we don't have one, though, because it gives Blue a minor social debuff because he needs it for his religion. We get attacked by a mad boom rat, and it's chasing Mousy, which is very dangerous because when that thing explodes, I'm afraid it's going to instantly kill Mousy, and I'm kind of worried. However, there's not much we can do. Mousy can't really get away as it's viciously attacking her. This is when it gets shot and explodes. Fortunately enough, Mousy is relatively uninjured, actually. She has no immediate danger and only is minorly bleeding, which was a major shock to me as I thought it was going to blow her to bits and pieces. This does, however, give a glim outlook of just how harsh Randy Random is going to be on our colony as we progress. He's not going to give us any shortage of random and crazy events. Not that I don't want that, that's exactly why I played this, but it does just show how harsh this reality that I'm playing in is, especially for someone who's as inexperienced as me. We get gifted a little bit of silver, and then Paulo goes into a berserk, another crazy event. This is probably because we're not keeping him in the best conditions, but we're keeping him in the best conditions that we can because he sleeps in basically the same configuration as everybody else, because nothing is particularly nice about this colony. As much as I'd like to say that it's great, it's really not, and we've come a long way, but we still haven't made it that far. And now Paulo's busting into the barracks. He gets it broken in, which means our colonists will no longer sleep in there until I get the door repaired because it's all now designated a prison. Mousy is now trying to flee the room, which means he runs right into Paulo where he starts beating her up. I send Blue in to try to rescue her and beat up Paulo. Everything that could be going wrong is going wrong. And Eric is just kind of sitting right now, sleeping. I don't know why he's not drafted yet. Now he is. And, Mousy, I'm having her run away, as Paulo is now down on the ground, disarmed. Everything is back to fairly normal, besides the fact that we need to get these doors built very quickly. And there's a looming wildfire from that boom rat. Pretty scary. I hope that doesn't reach the house, because that would just be another problem on top of all the problems that we're already facing right now. But it would appear Randy Random is on our side. The fire starts to go out on its own as day breaks. This is a great sign, as our house isn't going to burn down. But then Randy Random throws something out of left field. Blue has a tantrum, and he breaks down the door containing Paulo. So Paulo once again breaks out and is a free prisoner. Maybe we're holding him against his will, but he did wrong us, so it's just. Eric ends up having to start shooting him down to try to be able to get him and not kill him. I decided to punch him. This actually worked out, but the problem is we still have no prison room now, as the door is destroyed, so I put him in the bedroom. Now Mousy is having a crisis of belief, there is a quest that we can't do, and Blue is still having a tantrum. Everything is happening so quickly, it's honestly getting very hard for me to keep up. This is very apparent in some of the things that I do, as I don't really know how to deal with any of the events that are happening. Blue's tantrum is causing a lot of problem. Eric is left to try to fix this by doing literally every other task. And we have this quest that we just can't do right now. It's not even worth it. We don't have the capabilities, so I just read through it and decide, better luck next time. This is a way to get a colonist, but it's not a way that we can win, I don't think, at this moment, especially with our colony falling apart in front of us. These events start to bring into reality just how small the balance between life and death in this colony really is. One event like that at a worse time could seriously impact or completely ruin this save entirely. But that doesn't make me play this game any safer. In fact, it probably makes things worse because I'm playing with this little feeling of fear in the back of my mind. But despite this, we must keep on pushing on and trying to get the daily functions of the base back to what they were before all the disasters struck. This should be rather easy, as we have 3 colonists now, and one can be dedicated cleanup crew, so to speak, and the others can work on constructing and healing and building our massive storage room, so that we can finally have a good spot to put everything. And I decided to put wooden shelves in there to see what it's going to look like, and if I need to make it bigger to fit the shelves how I want them to maximize the space. And it looks like it would fit really well. It's just going to cost a lot of wood that we do not have at this moment. So it's going to take a lot of time before we can get this massive storage room fully functioning. So I get rid of all the shelves and I'm just going to throw all the items in there for now because we might as well use the massive room even if we can't use it in its fullest capacity yet. I'm also going to move around our dumping stockpile as I want to move it to the side of the building so we have more room for further expansion, primarily in the workshop and prison area, as I want to work on making it better and kind of moving where it is and making an actual dedicated prison. Eric's over here hunting so that we can get ourselves some more food, as that is the constant struggle. We have 4 mouths to feed because we have a prisoner who still needs to eat, although I don't know how regularly we're feeding him, which might prove to be a problem later. That could be one of the reasons he had a breakout attempt. A bunch of boomalopes came onto the map. That's not particularly useful for me because they explode when you kill them, and one fire could severely damage the colony or almost wipe it out entirely. We also failed a quest because I haven't been prioritizing questing, as we're prioritizing trying to not die, which seems a little bit more important. I try to see if you can rough the surface, look at the idea of putting floor in there, but it's just kind of too expensive right now as we have a lot of wood need and we don't have a lot of wood, and there's other projects that I prioritize before this because they're more important. But despite this, we still need to make the bedroom nicer so that it gives them a mood buff instead of a mood debuff. While doing all this planning, Randy Random decides to throw a curveball and raid us yet again. This raid is pretty easy though, just a single furry person with a knife. Shouldn't be too much of a match as we have 2 ranged people and a melee person if it does come to that. I hope it doesn't because a knife could stab Blue pretty dangerously and cause some pretty bad wounds. The attack happens almost immediately with Mousy already out there and Eric. Blue and Eric arrive on the scene and Eric almost immediately starts shooting at the aggressor. Mousy follows suit, but before they can put the aggressor down, they have to start retreating as the aggressor is actually quite fast. So I have my colonist retreat. Don't want them getting unnecessarily injured, and they are getting good shots on the aggressor, putting down the threat pretty easily it seems. The aggressor gets very slow as they become more and more damaged. I have Blue actually stop being on-drafted at all because it doesn't matter. And we put down the aggressor. I look over their stats, not very useful. And I decide that this will just become target practice, as inhumane as that may sound. However messed up it may seem, it's an easy way to boost Eric's shooting stats, which will help him hunt and help him in future raids. Immediately after the body is dead, I haul it away so that it won't give anybody else any debuffs that could put them closer to a mental breakdown. Once the body is put away, life in the colony can continue as usual and everybody can go back to their normal daily routine. It's pretty nice that we were able to deal with that raid so diligently and efficiently. It's good to see that the colonist is this effective at protecting itself. I do, however, fear for the future as raids get bigger and more common. We could start to have more difficulty with the lack of security that we currently have. I accidentally opened the map here, just ignore that and keep going. I look through people's moods and stats just to get a feel of how the colony is doing and where I need to be prioritizing things and what I need to be prioritizing certain people doing. Making sure that each colonist is doing their specific job or the job that they're best at so it's done efficiently and proficiently. One of the biggest things with RimWorld in general is making sure that you don't waste a whole bunch of time, because wasting time is not the best. And if you can do stuff more efficiently, you should probably try to figure out a way to do it more efficiently. And that's kind of the big problem that I have, as I don't really micromanage very much and I kind of just let things happen. Now, we need to make our garden bigger and we don't have the growing skill I need to plant what I want to plant. So I decided to just plant more rice. We're going to have a huge rice field again. I also keep looking at Polo, seeing what he's going to be able to do for our colony once he is a full colonist, once we've persuaded him to join us and can use him for more labor and more hands around the colony itself, helping us prioritize getting things done and hopefully be able to push us into the electronic age, something I really, really want to get into, but it's just not able to happen as quickly as I'd want due to our lack of materials and our lack of manpower. Another war merchant comes in, and we'll see if we can trade with them this time, but I kind of doubt that we have the silver or materials to get anything of value. Instead of running off to go find them, I just wait for them to come to the colony, and they just mosey on over here, where I send Blue to go trade with them and see if they have any headdresses that we can actually afford to buy. And we actually can afford to buy one, selling a self-tamed boomalope I didn't even know that we had this boomalope that's self-tamed, but being able to use it to get a headdress is actually pretty cool and very beneficial for the colony, as Blue will no longer get a debuff from not having his ritual headdress that he needs for being the leader of their Awistic religion. As the colonists sleep, I am thinking about and planning how we are going to continue expanding the colony and how we are possibly going to be able to get the resources to finish our refrigerator and upgrade our barracks to become a better, more livable space. Also, Mousy is making a mess of the bedroom by drawing all over the floor, but I don't really know if this has any effect on the overall cleanliness of the room. Certainly the blood doesn't either. Now, Blue is out there planting more and more crops, while Eric just does some day-to-day tasks and cook the meals that are important to colony survival. Unfortunately, due to lack of refrigerator, some of the meat is just rotting away. Another big problem is the colony's mental health. Mousy goes on a mental break, which is an insulting spree, and that's no good because she's gonna make everybody else have a mental breakdown as well. I choose to ignore this and just keep looking around the colony and see what I can do to try to improve the situation in the short term. The only solution I have is to expand the base even more so that I can work on trying to get everything I want to fit and try to make certain things better about the base. I'm expanding it so that we can make the bedroom one bigger and the refrigerating room one bigger. Once we start to get electricity and can actually get set up in there, it will be a lot nicer. However, it seems like I'm just kind of stalling, working on things that aren't 100% important at the time, and that probably comes back to hurt us in the end. Working on the base isn't 100% the most important thing to be doing right now. In retrospect, I should have probably pushed to try to get electricity quicker, as it's taken way too long and we're falling behind quickly. Paulo, our prisoner, is having a crisis of belief, which is good because we're trying to convert him to our religion, so we need to get him to abandon his current religion, so that he'll adopt Awanism and be the same as everybody else in the colony, except Mousy, who we haven't converted yet. We're expanding the farm because I'm trying to produce more food to account for the fact that some of our food is rotting away, and that hunting isn't the most 100% stable food source, as sometimes there aren't a lot of good animals to be able to hunt. The colony is fairly stable despite all of the shortcomings, and this is starting to look like it might actually end up being a good save, and everything might start to go together. We get another quest. I briefly look it over and decide that it's not something that's worth doing because I don't want to have to take care of an animal for a long period of time. It's at this point that Gibo Confederation raids us, but I'm not super concerned. It's only one person. Then I realize they have a shotgun. We have to approach this very carefully. We do not want to get shot by a shotgun. That is a surefire death. I decide to have the ranged people push up, as range is going to be our primary mode of attacking here. I have Blue get undrafted because he's not going to be worth it because melee is out of the question here. I also decide to undraft Mousy as it's only worth putting one person at risk at a time, having Eric pop some shots and back away. They'll die in 20 hours, so all I have to do is keep Eric in cover and keep shooting. They rush Eric, and Eric gets really close, but is fortunate enough to get away, at least in the short term, until he takes a direct blow to the chest and instantaneously dies. This is a horrible situation. Eric is now dead, leaving us out a colonist, and there is still a shotgun-wielding adversary. I decide in a Hail Mary to have Blue rush up in melee, which looks like this should have been our approach from the start because he is able to beat the adversary out of this world. Unfortunately, that does not bring Eric back to life. This is a tragic and cautionary tale. Never to risk yourself when you're in this situation. I learned a lot on how to deal with a shotgun-wielding adversary, but there is still a horrible, horrible repercussion. Blue is having a mental breakdown after seeing 2 dead bodies, including that of his dead friend. He is injured, however, so he needs to get healed by Mousy, something she'll be able to do once he's stopped having his mental breakdown. I, however, am still very confused as to what to do here. We're down a colonist, and that's really, really concerning. That's going to put a huge strain on Mousy and Blue. Blue has passed out, but that's okay. Mousy is going to be able to rescue him and heal him. It's at this point that I understand with Randy Random and this difficulty, life is going to be rough. And it's been easy up to this point because Randy Random has been holding off for me to get my bounds, but now that I'm here, he is going to give me everything he can. This is something that I needed an action to realize. Unfortunately, that action was Eric's death. I now need to find a place where we can bury Eric so that we can do a return to Awa ceremony due to his religion. This is the proper thing to do. I decided this corner of the map will be where we bury as few colonists as possible. Unfortunately, I have a little bitty oversight here, which would come back to haunt us. I send Blue to go drag Eric's body over there so that he can be buried. Unfortunately, my minor oversight means I send Blue right headed towards the bear that's trying to eat him. The bear is hunting Blue for food, and now Blue has to make a mad dash back home to try to escape the might of the bear. Due to his injuries, he cannot. And unfortunately, it's at this point I lose a second colonist. Mousy is now all alone. The return to Awa possibilities are gone, as Mousy is not Awistic. She has her own religion. Now Mousy is all alone, the last remaining colonist in a shell of the former glory. We have to worry on trying to prioritize the future, however, and figure out a way that Mousy can keep going and hopefully get herself another colonist. Paulo goes on a berserk and tries to break out of prison, and I give Mousy the shotgun to be able to defend herself. She's going to have to put down Paulo so that she doesn't get attacked. This honestly doesn't end as well as I thought it would, as she's having to run away and shoot for quite some time. This should be expected, though, as her shooting skill isn't very high, and she is a child wielding a shotgun that is the same exact height as her. Running away from Paulo and getting shots in is actually raising her shooting level until she finally puts down Paulo. Taking Paulo back as a prisoner could be our only hope to getting another colonist that will help Mousy be able to rebuild what was lost. I honestly worry that we'll never be able to recover to that point, as Mousy is a child with very poor skills because she's not fully grown up. Paulo goes into a berserk again, but it's not really worrying because he is passed out, and I end up putting him into the bedroom that is now converted to a prison, and have Mousy just kind of sleep on the floor and prioritize tending him, as he is kind of a priority right now because he could be our ticket to success, or at least limited success, getting back to where we were before. I have to prioritize Mousy with some more rolls, and Mousy ends up having to eat a corpse to get food, which is not good. That's going to socially deteriorate her and mentally hurt her, and this could mean she has a mental break. A mental break that could literally spell the end of the colony, as without her, we have nothing. I have Mousy build some graves so that she can bury her fallen comrades, the same comrades that saved her and unfortunately perished protecting her. This is not the outcome that I ever wanted for this colony, and to be honest, at this point I'm slightly worried I'll never be able to recover. With Blue and Eric being buried, it's now time to focus on the future. I'm looking for the bear just to make sure we don't get attacked again, and then we get attacked by the toxic slickers, the same people who we kidnapped Paulo from when they attacked us the first time. Now, Mousy is equipped with a shotgun, so I'm not entirely worried about a single person. I decide that our best course of action is to just rush them and hope for the best. Mousy's able to get some shots off, but the Toxic Slicker is way faster. Mousy is able to do some damage, but she does get hit a few times. Getting some shots into her aggressor really slows them down, however, and she's able to put a killing blow. This drops some smoke leaf, something that's actually fantastic, and Mousy is able to quickly start smoking, which will hopefully help her mood a lot, and make her not go mentally insane from the fact that all of her loved ones have died, and she's having to eat corpses to survive. She ends up burying Blue and cleaning up the grave sites a little bit before going back home to finish eating on a corpse and tending up Paulo. The situation has really gotten bad. I never expected it to get this bad, and I never wanted it to. This save had humongous potential. It still kind of does, though. As long as you have a colonist, you have a way. The body in the prison is decaying, so it's no longer edible. Not saying it was ever edible, but taking care of Paulo is Mousy's main priority, as all she can really hope for right now is getting the prison set back up and taming Paulo into becoming a colonist and not be a crazy prisoner anymore, because, well, if we can get him converted, that will help us greatly and maybe be the only way we're able to keep this colony going. I have to set Mousy to hunting. She has a shotgun, which will be pretty useful. I decided to hunt some gazelles, but there's also some other animals nearby. She eats another corpse, which isn't ideal, and then she goes to bed in the horrible bedroom, which isn't really ideal either since it's not cleaned out. It really needs to be cleaned. Her mental health is really going to be strained here, and this could lead to a mental break. That's what I'm really worried about. I am really concerned that Mousy will have a mental break. I go hunt a horse because they're really close, and I figure that we can get one really easily. This is when I found out that it's a disliked food, but it's better than corpses, and at this point, it's all that we have to eat. I have her eat it in the bedroom at the table, and then go out, and she starts wandering around. This is okay. I Have her go hunt a turtle. For whatever reason, I hunt turtles all the time in this game. I have no clue why. Find out it's also a dislikes food, and she gets food poisoning from eating it, which means that everything that is going wrong has been going wrong for a while with this colony. I really feel like everything is falling apart, and at this point, I don't know how to salvage it. Paulo dies of malnutrition, making a bad situation even worse. Now we have no future of getting another colonist. It's Mousy all by herself. Mousy against the world. A world that has killed everyone else that she's been friends with. Now she's gone berserk and is running after a hare, which could end badly, and it does. Mousy is put down and only saved by the man in black. Vic, a mysterious stranger who was passing by, deciding to save her life. This is actually a great situation because without it, she would be dead. Vic is able to heal Mousy's wounds, and he also has food, so he's able to feed her. I decided to use this opportunity and Vic to hunt some food and get some resources so that we can hopefully get the colony going back and get Mousy stabilized. I also have Vic clean up the room so that Mousy won't get an infection because there are tons of corpses around her, something that can and will happen in this game, especially with Randy Random on the hardest difficulty. Mousy has woken up from her injuries, and it looks like she is going to be just fine. I need to find the shotgun here, as that's a great tool that I don't want to leave behind, as losing the shotgun would be kind of devastating, as it's such a versatile and powerful weapon. It takes me a really, really long time to find it, however, and I actually give up at this point. Going back to find it one last time, I'm able to find it by using the blood splatters. I give it to Vic as he has a higher shooting skill, and I have Mousy go and grab the pistol so that she has a better weapon to defend herself if worse comes to worse. Mousy makes her way back so she can sleep off her injuries. This is when an aurora lights up the sky, a symbol from Randy Random of a bright future. Ultimately, Vic and Mousy will leave the colony and go live in a nearby city where Vic will raise Mousy as his own. As always, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And if you're feeling extra supportive, I've also created a Patreon if you want to go support me financially.